It's not true. I did not hit her. It's bullshit. I did not. Oh, hi guys. The first time we did a top 10 list, it was about the worst horror remakes ever. So we needed to make a part 2 about the best horror movies ever. I was expecting that most of you people are going to totally disagree with the bullshit I'm saying. But nobody disagreed with me at all! In fact, the only thing people were even talking about was if I can call Total Recall a horror movie. That was the only point of discussion here! You guys agree with me way too well. I thought my opinion wasn't for the masses. Oh, fuck you. We're still not viral. I don't know. Still to say, a lot of movies on my list here have been, like, totally disgraced by other reviewers, and I think they're amazing. This could cause some chaos. I'm hoping for at least a bit of chaos.
Please, somebody, please disagree with the shit I say. Disagree for once. Ah!
Hello everybody and welcome to the Movie Void, where we review whatever the fuck we want to review. Well, when I did part 1 about the worst movie remakes ever, I found myself having trouble finding so many shitty remakes. The more I was thinking about bad remakes, the quicker I had good remakes in my mind. Which is very weird because I never thought of myself as a person who liked remakes at all. But it seems I do. It seems that, in contrast to most people who are saying, oh my god, you're giving me too many remakes, man, you're giving me too many remakes, Stop making remakes. I don't agree with that at all. Sometimes remakes are cool. If they're done right, that is. And we're looking at times when this went totally good. So let's just get into it. Before I start off, there's something I also want to mention. I'm not going to include movies in this remake that have been remade in so many different ways that each remake has its own story to tell. Like, for example, Dracula, or Frankenstein, or Night of the Living Dead. Those are movies that have been remade like thousands and thousands of times. Okay, maybe not thousands, but I think we will definitely get a double-digit number if we count them all up. It's just that these movies are like, you can't really compare them to the original because there's just so many different interpretations of it. Number 10, The Uninvited, 2009. The Uninvited is a remake of the Japanese 2003 film A Tale of Two Sisters. A Tale of Two Sisters was a very good movie, but it was done totally chaotically, and it was cut up into pieces. It was made to confuse you out of your mind. A lot of Japanese films, they like cutting up the order of things that happened, filming the thoughts of their characters, and not having a linear storyline. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't at all. Call me stupid, but I had a real fucking problem following everything. I was like, why did that happen? Why did this happen? Why is this person doing that now? None of this makes sense. I had to ask my friends who watched it with me afterwards 50 million questions of what the fuck was even going on in this movie. What I really liked about the 2009 American version, and it happens very rarely that when the United States remake a foreign film that something good comes out of it, but the American version took away all the confusion in this movie and really just made a good linear storyline out of the whole thing. You had good acting, you had the setting was made almost the exact same way as it was in the original. Everything worked perfectly fine. A lot of people were complaining about it because they were missing exactly that confusion I'm complaining about, but I like it. It is a simple story. Why make such a simple story with so much meaning and so much symbolism be more complicated than it is? And that is why I think The Uninvited was even better than the original. And especially when the twist at the end comes out. Like, you know You understand in the American version what really happened. In the Japanese version, you're like, okay, is this the twist? Is this really what's going on? Or are you just fucking with you? Number 9, Blood Feast, 2016. Or maybe 2017, since the movie isn't officially out yet. Yeah, most of you won't really know this one, because it's not out yet properly. I was lucky enough to catch a screening last year, while the movie was actually still in post-production. And I have to say, they did a really fucking good job on this one. The original was from 1963, and it was also considered to be the first actual gore/splatter movie ever. And it was done with a lot of cheap effects. It was done with a lot of experimental stuff. It was really the first thing of its kind back in the day. So making a remake out of something this old and something that dusty was actually a very good idea. Giving this movie a more professional ground, a bigger universe, deeper characters, a more intense, deeper look into the plot makes it work really well. It seems a lot less silly than the original does. And Herschel Gordon Lewis, who recently passed away, sadly. Yeah, he was honestly a little genius. He gave us things like Wizard of Gore 2, 2000 Maniacs, wonderful movies. He really, started the gore craze that we know today. Gave this movie actually a thumbs up while he was still alive. I think he's actually even has a cameo in this film.
I ask you now, with that background, to support the Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign to remake Blood Feast in the current modern image with current modern equipment.
It really makes everything that felt raw and just funny and silly in the original Blood Feast feel real and identifiable, and that makes it work so well because you have this really old motherfucker being updated into this totally new level. So when this movie comes out, really check it out, because I think it's pretty much the type of movie that justifies why remakes are sometimes really necessary to do. And with Blood Feast, that totally works. Number 8, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Okay, we have another situation. When you take a movie from the early 50s, okay, not early 50s, the original was in 1956, there's not a lot you can do wrong. With new technology and the new possibilities in filmmakings, you can make films go into a totally new level. And even though the 1956 version was very revolutionary back at the time, looking back at it today, it just doesn't hold up. It seems silly. It seems cheesy. The 1978 version, even though it's almost 40 fucking years old, you can still totally identify with it because it just makes you feel so fucking paranoid. It's very fast-paced for its pretty long length. The acting is totally convincing. The film is about a race of aliens taking over people's minds and making them pretend to be the people that they are when they truly are aliens and taking over the world. And the fast-pacedness of the 1978 version is just the most creepiest, paranoid thing ever. You're constantly at the edge of your seat, not knowing who is real and who is not. And it pretty much defines, the 70s totally pessimistic, bad ending, life is awful and confusing 70s sci-fi movie.
We now return to the end of a depressing 1970s sci-fi movie starring a guy in a turtleneck.
We've gone far enough. I think we're safe from the corporation here.
Adzin, look!
It can't be! No! We'll never defeat the corporation! They've won!
There is one way, Adzin. You can shoot yourself.
If it's the only way, I must.
It's actually also a very funny trip into the 70s because they are looking fucking disco dancing in this movie. They're all looking like they're all going to go out with James Brown tonight. I wonder if in this universe James Brown was an alien. A lizard person, probably. Number 7, The Hills Have Eyes, 2006. Yes, the original was great. And yes, the original was done back in the time when Wes Craven really had balls to make something edgy. Like back when he did Last House on the Left and shit. This is from that family of movies. And back then it was a very big political statement against nuclear experiments. Too bad they didn't have the means that we have today, because when Alexandre Aja took this thing on in 2006, it blew my mind how realistic everything looked like. The 1977 version really failed in its effects. You don't... Just look at how the mutants look like. The 2006 version makes it much more darker than the original version is. The characters are more convincing. And yes, Gorehounds, I also have to say, the 2006 version takes the whole 1977 thing off to a new level. It puts the guts and the blood right into your fucking face. And especially that scene where the mutants start invading the trailer of the family. That is that takes fear on a level few home invasion movies have ever gone to. There's this almost rape scene that actually happens, and that just totally freaks the fuck out of you. And it really, takes its time to build up the tension, to get people to know its characters. While the original, even though it is very good, seems to be done a bit sloppy. Number 6, Piranha 3D from 2010. This is just a fun movie about a bunch of kids wanting to celebrate spring break and getting eaten up by a bunch of fish! Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Well, I wasn't a big fan of the 1978 original at all. I think that movie was just trying to catch in on the beach monster craze because 1975 Jaws came out, and they were just trying to get some quick money out of that. And the 1978 version takes itself way too seriously, has some horrible acting, tries to look really dark and gritty, and it's just things that don't match in the atmosphere. When Alexandre Aja took this thing on in 2010, we got a whole new level of a movie there. It went right away, making it bright and flashy, like a high school teen movie, which it is supposed to be, and not as gritty as dark as the original. You have a fun soundtrack, you have pretty looking actors, you have people wanting to have fun, you have this spring break craze atmosphere, you have naked chicks, you have a obsessed porn producer. It's the chemistry of everything is there. And boy, do those fucking piranhas look like they're going to eat the living shit out of you. Like, seriously, look at them. They even bring Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future in this to play a scientist researching these piranhas, and he does such a fucking amazing job. It's like Doc Brown is back all over again in a new dimension.
Piranha hunt in packs. The first bite draws blood. Blood draws the pack.
It really takes everything that was missing in the original and pulls it right into your fucking face. And especially when the piranhas get going and the gore starts kicking in, you are just blown away by how much guts and how many splatter effects are thrown into your face. It doesn't take itself seriously at all, but it also doesn't go right into straight out flat goofiness. And that is a mix that is very hard to create. Strange enough, this is the second time Alexandre Aja has made it on this list, if you haven't noticed. They even went out and made a sequel of this remake called Piranha 3DD. It's not as good as the original remake. Some people actually totally hate it, but it is a totally goofy bag of laughs. Number 5, The Fly. 1986. Again, we have a movie where the original takes place in 1958. And even for its time, it was so fucking trashy. Just look at how The Fly looked like in 1958. And in 1986, we had some better effects going on. We had an inspiring young Jeff Goldblum. Back then, we actually all thought Jeff Goldblum was going to be a really good actor one day. Now look what we have. This is a movie where an experiment goes wrong, where a scientist tries to create a portal device to move from one place to the other. Like Carlos here. Oh my god, Carlos, how did you get there? The original really is a cheesy little mess. No, really, it's not good. It's just funny as fuck. Because it really comes from these grindhouse days when people weren't even trying. They didn't take itself seriously at all, I think. And David Cronenberg took this film and made a very serious story out of it. It actually seems more like this Kafka Metamorphosis thing than a B-movie grindhouse drive-in movie. And that is what I really enjoy about it. It takes something totally random and fucked up and makes it so real and terrifying. And for the 80s, and the 80s were a very strange time when it came to judging effects and shit. These were some amazing effects. Number 4. Carrie, 2013. I know, a lot of you people don't disagree with me on this one. I personally think that the people who think that the 1976 version is better are just a bunch of little cunts who are stuck with the idea that one cannot mess with an original film that was back then considered a masterpiece. But let me tell you, I personally think the 1976 version of Carrie sucks. Sissy Spacek, or Spacek, as I like to call it, doesn't even look like a high school girl. She looks like a 40-year-old woman who has just given birth to 4 kids. She fucking looks like Andrea Zuckerman in Beverly Hills 90210. She doesn't look her age at all. Her anger doesn't convince me. She seems stupid. She seems like you don't feel sorry for her. You actually want to go in this movie and bully her. That's how dumb she is. I don't like Sissy Spacek at all. How can you even like Sissy Spacek? Ah! And in the 2013 version, we have the beautiful Chloe Grace Moretz, who is actually the age she is supposed to be as an actress in this movie. First of all, a lot of people also complain about that. Miss Moretz is too pretty, too cool, too identifiable with the audience to be bullied by these kids, but they're getting the whole point of bullying wrong. It doesn't matter how pretty you are. It doesn't matter how cool you are. It doesn't matter what your personality is. If some kids are going to decide to bully you in school, those things aren't important factors. Bullies pick out people because of jealousy. Bullies pick out people because they just feel like ditching on somebody random. In reality, bullies happen not because you look shitty. It happens just because you're different. And then it doesn't matter if you're pretty or if you're a nice guy or a shitty guy. Bullies will still bully you. And I don't know. Just look at the fucking effects in the 2013 version. It is beautiful. Like, look how Carrie freaks out after the blood scene. It is absolutely incredible. And Sissy Spacek is just like her fucking name, a fucking sissy. You can't really take her rage seriously. The wreckage she creates isn't even close to that in the 2013 version, so I have absolutely no idea why the widespread opinion is that the original is better. The original sucks fucking ass! Oh, and Julianne Moore. Oh my fucking god. Julianne Moore does such a good job in this movie. It's like this role was made for her. Number 3. I Spit on Your Grave, 2010. Oh boy. While I was looking through some reviews myself, I noticed a top 10 by Filmmaster Adam where he calls this movie
tasteless, disturbing, and just downright fucking despicable. The true tagline of this film should have been, "You will never be..."
Dear Filmmaster Adam, there is a genre in the horror movie genre called rape and revenge. It is supposed to make you feel cringy, disgusting, and ashamed to have a dick. It is like the most feminist genre in the world. You just maybe shouldn't watch rape and revenge movies. Horror movies are supposed to make you feel disgusting sometimes. They are supposed to make you feel shocked. They are supposed to make you feel disturbed. They are supposed to freak the shit out of you. That's why we watch them. They're a fucking roller coaster ride for us. And I Spit on Your Grave is just that. The original is brutal and disgusting and evil as fuck. But the 2010s version actually made it to push the bar even higher on that. The rape scene is longer, it's more detailed. The acting from Sarah Butler is just absolutely amazing. And the revenge. When the revenge takes place and the rapists get what is coming for them, you are just jumping out of your seat, feeling good for her. You're like, you go girl, motherfucker! This movie, like, totally tears your mind apart. And even though, like, it's... That's the crazy thing about rape and revenge film. You're not supposed to, usually when you watch a movie, feel good about somebody killing somebody else. But that is what makes a rape and revenge film so scary, because it actually just justifies killing somebody else. You want her to make some of the most brutalist, torturous, disgusting kills ever, and Sarah Butler pulls that off so perfectly. I actually had a chance to talk to her, like, twice on the Weekend of Horrors, here around the corner, close to Cologne, and she is such a darling actress. Like, I hope that girl gets to be in, like, thousands of horror movies and has one of the best careers ever, because she is just such a little sweetheart. And really, check it out if you want to see a rape and revenge movie that just takes you out of your seat, that just really disturbs the living daylights out of you. I really recommend the I Spit on Your Grave 2010 film. They made 2 sequels. Number 2 has a very good plot and is actually, plot-wise, even more disturbing than part 1. But somehow the rape scenes feel more awful than the kill scenes, and I think that's something rape and revenge films should never do. The revenge should always be more gruesome and brutal than the rape. And second of all, the actress is just so fucking annoying. And part 3 feels like it's just this feminazi fuck you. Yes, and I actually also have to add, like, anybody who thinks this movie is sexist or anything like that, they're absolutely wrong. I Spit on Your Grave, the original's name was also actually The Day of the Woman. And I think it's just the biggest anti-rape comment you can give as a filmmaker. And people who are disgusted by it and hate it because they're disgusted by it are really missing the point here. They are actually criticizing the sole thing you are complaining about, you know? Number 2, The Thing, 1982. Well, the original is really from 1951. 1951, I mean, color films weren't even invented back then. And the effects are just like that. All the dialogue seems cheesy. It's just really a film that got lost in history somewhere. People don't talk like that anymore. It's sweet, it's cute, but it's not really something like one can identify with and grasp. And in 1982, John Carpenter put himself on the map with this motherfucker. This was the inspiration to numerous of sci-fi films. Even the X-Files actually did an episode dedicated to this movie. And it is just like totally claustrophobic and disturbingly intense. Because it's an alien life form and you don't know what it is capable of doing. It's about a bunch of archaeologists in the Antarctic researching until their base gets invaded by this alien identity. It can take over people, it can transform, it is just like totally freaky. Everything about this movie makes perfect sense. The creature's origins are explained perfectly. It leaves like no room for any kind of loopholes. Even the tragic, fatalistic ending, I'm not going to spoil, like really seems explainable and justifiable. It just freaks the living daylights out of you how well this movie is made. Especially the special effects for the 80s. That was revolutionary. Just think about it. This was 3 years after The Hills Have Eyes was made. You feel sometimes like you're in the 90s how good these effects are. So if you haven't seen this one, please, it's an absolute classic. You gotta check it out. So, before we reveal our number one, I know a lot of you guys are wondering, where is the Evil Dead remake? I loved the Evil Dead remake. It was a solid remake, but it's not really better than the original. It's, I would say, on par with the original, but it's not so good that it belongs on the list. That's what I think. Same with the Crazies. That would have probably been number 11 if I would have done a number 11. And also Mirrors would have also been like number 12 if I would have done a top 12. But, you know, there's only so many things that fit into a top 10. Here it is. The best horror movie remake ever. Maniac 2012. Oh my fucking god. I still have dreams about this movie. This is one of the most creepiest, freakiest things I've ever seen in my life. The 1980s version wasn't bad either, but it just didn't convince me because the guy playing our protagonist, what's his name again? Joe Spinell. He's a good actor, but he looks like a pimp. No offense there, but he really looks like a fucking pimp. You expect him to do what he is doing. And in the 2012 version, you have Elijah Wood. You have fucking Frodo from Lord of the Rings being this creepy homicidal maniac who scalpels women, takes their hair and puts them on fucking puppets. And to make things even more fucked up is it's done out of the first perspective version. You like see most of the movie. Actually, you see all of the movie like through the eyes of Elijah Wood. And that is what like freaks you out the most because you feel sorry for him. You notice that he doesn't want to do this, but it's his sexual urges and the psychological mess that is making him do this. Something that was hinted on the original, but not really taken to the level the remake does. And this is seriously like the best horror movie remake ever. Because you feel for this guy, you feel sorry for him. And you want him to stop doing what he's doing. You want him to fall in love with this girl he actually has a crush on. And you're actually hoping that he will somehow get out of this obsession, get out of his psychological traumas. But he doesn't. And it just hurts you. Every minute of this film just hurts you. And it is just so beautifully done. Elijah Wood is like, proves that he is a absolute amazing actor in this movie. And definitely watch this movie uncut. Like if you live in Germany and you're going to go to the store and get it, don't do that, don't do that! It's like 30 minutes of the movie are missing from this. So really be sure you get an uncut version because the shit that makes this movie so good is its realness. Is the way you see everything from his perspective. And in cut versions, that perspective trick is actually cut out. And this is like truly a little masterpiece. Yeah. So those are my top 10 favorite horror remakes. I really hope some of you disagree. Please disagree. I want people to discuss a little with me and not just say, okay, movie boy guy, I agree with you. That was a nice list. This is not what The Void is about. I want to fight with you guys. I want there to be rage in these comment sections. Okay, we just have 13 subscribers. Hi there! Well, anyway, it was fun. I'm gonna be gone again for a couple of days. And it'll be like 2 weeks until the next Void, which is sad. But it'll help me develop a script. And, you know, this was the movie Void. You will see me when you see me.
Well then, I guess I'll see you when I see you.
And you're goddamn right.
It got me by surprise. Love bit me on the ass. Took deep to realize that I'm just a lonely boy. Yes, deep down I'm blue. But when I unleash the beast, to myself I'm true.
Tasteless, disturbing, and just downright fucking despicable.